संसारदावा नललीढलोका त्राणाय कारुण्या घन घनत्वम् संसारदावा नललीढलोका त्राणाय कारुण्या घन घनत्वम् प्राप्तस्य कल्याणागुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभोः कीर्तननृत्यगीता वादित्रमाद्यान्मनसुरसेना रोमाञ्चकं पशुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधननित्यनाना शृङ्गारतान्मन्दिरमर्जनादौ युक्तस्य भक्तान् शनियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसाद स्वाद्वन्नतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना प्रतीक्षणास्वादनलोलोपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसेथ्यै यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रातिदाक्षाततिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सति किन्तु प्रभो यः प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्या प्रसादान्न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायं स्तुवंस्तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यां वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् ध्यायं स्तुवंस्तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यां वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् पदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचौरं गोपाङ्गनानां च दुकुलचौरम् अनेकजन्मचिता पापचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि श्रीराधिकाया हृदयस्य चौरं नवाम्बुधा श्यामला कान्तिचौरम् पादाश्रितानां च समस्तचौरं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि किञ्चनीकृत्य पादां श्रितां यः करोति भिक्षुं पथि गेहहीनम् केनाप्यहो भीषणचौरैर्दृक् दृष्टश्रुतो वा न जगत्त्रयेऽपि यदीयनामापि हरत्यशेषं गिरिप्रसारानपि पापराशिन् आश्चर्यरूपो ननु चौरैर्दृक् दृष्टश्रुतो वा न मया कदापि धनं च मानं च तथेन्द्रियाणि प्राणांश हृत्वा मम सर्वमेव पलायसे कुत्र धृतोऽत्यचौर त्वं भक्तिदाम्नासि मया निरुद्ध चीनत्सि घोरं यमपाशबन्धं विनत्सि भीमं भवपाशबन्धम् चीनत्सि सर्वस्य समस्तबन्धं नैवात्मनो भक्तकृतं तु बन्धम् मन्मानसे तामसा राशिघोरे कारागृहे दुःखमये निबध्य लभस्व हे चौरहरे चिराय स्वचौर्यदोषोचितमेव दण्डम् कारागृहे वस सदा हृदये मदीये मद्भक्तिपाशदृढबन्धननिश्चल सन् त्वां कृष्ण हे प्रलयकोटिशतान्तरेऽपि सर्वस्वचौरहृदया नाहि मोचयामि हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा नील माधव राधा नील माधव राधा नील माधव श्री राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शना जय सीताराम जय सीता जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जयो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
Jai Om Shri Pada Brahmhamsa Pratikacharya Ashtota Shata Shishmati Divine Grace Abharchana Rinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Bhaktivedanta Institute Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Shri Pada Brahmhamsa Pratikacharya Ashtota Shata Shishmati Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridasa Ki Jai Premise Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Prajabhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Purushottama Chaita Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Ayodhya Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Purushottama Adhika Masa Ki Jai Churastakam Ki Jai Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari. All glories assembled devotees, all glories assembled devotees, all glories assembled devotees, all glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Lada Daini Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha Shiladankanakalahaye Ito Nasimha Parato Nasimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Nasimha Tato Nasimha Bahir Nasimha Hridaye Nasimha Narasimham Adim Sharanam Paprade Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakam Abhuda Shinga Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanabringa Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakarakam Nakam Abhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanavinga Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे। केशवदीता नरहरि रूपा, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे, जय जगदीश हरे। जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव, जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव, नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव, नरसिंहदेव। जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद, जय भक्त प्रहलाद, जय प्रहलाद महाराज। जय जय प्रभुपाद, 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय जय गुरुदेव, 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 जय जय गुरुदेव।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी, नमो नमः। तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी, नमो नमः। राधा कृष्ण सेवा पाबो, ये अभिलाषी यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी. जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी. जय जय प्रभुपाद, 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद. जय जय गुरुदेव, 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 जय जय गुरुदेव. सत्तवत्ताय नमो नमः. वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्तवत्ताय नमो नमः. वृन्दाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्तवत्ताय नमो नमः. वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय.
O Tulasi, beloved of Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desire to enter service with Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has wished fulfilled. Please have mercy upon him and make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire also grant me residence in the precious grove of Shiva Vrindavan. Thus within my vision I shall always behold the beautiful pastime Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me follow Karho Danso's Vraja. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in the love, Shri Radha and Govinda, Srimati Tulasi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be divided, and they are as follows. 1. To bless in the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the name of the demigods Allah, Shiva, Brahma to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of spiritual master. 4. To bless in the Vedic literature or literature pursuing the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities and strength. 8. To consider chanting Hare the Vedas free to activities, karma, kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about God's holy name. 10. To not complete faith in chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachment in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees, Lord. They are just as thy trees who can fulfill to everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Shri Chaitanya Shikshatakam ki jai. Jeto Darpana Marjanam Pavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam Shriya Gairava Chantrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Pudivardhanam Pradipadam Purnamita Swadanam Sarvatama Swapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bhakta Nija Sarva Shakti Tatra Pita Niyamita Smadanena Kalaha Etadeshri Davakripa Bhagavam Mamapi Durudeva Mi Desham Iha Janina Nurakaha Trinatapi Sunijena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Harihi Na Thanam Na Janam Na Sundarim Kavitamba Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Jammani Jammanishvare Pavata Bhaktir Haituki Tvai Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mang Vishame Pavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Duri Satesham Vichintaya Nayanam Garadashru Daraya Vatanam Kadgada Rudaya Gira Pulaka Nichitam Vapur Kada Tava Nama Kahane Bhavishati Yuga Itam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravisha Itam Shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda vidahena me ashri shava padaratam pinnastumam adarsanam marmahatam karotuva yatha tatha va vidathatu lampato matprana natha susa eva naparaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Shikshatakam ki jai. To Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes fire of conditional life or repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction of humanity life because it spreads the rays from the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases ocean transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to the living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for these things. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the strongest tree. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your closest devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I fall into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up and when the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in worldly absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Siksastakam ki jai. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganyati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatahapachikaman Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saguna Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaguna Lalita Shri Visakam Vitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shivarsavanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujjvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudapa Apasiddhanta Tvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumnestvam Yudhesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Sri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarabhischa Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurachuse Namaha Bhaktadvadamakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Svarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Suratur Pangur Mama Manda Matergati Matsarva Swapadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Dvindaranya Kalpatrumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prestadi Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karasan Venuswaner Gopir Gopinata Kstriyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanustate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai. Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakarasatma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vritesa Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambrahma Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kvanandam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesa Sobham Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamal Devamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayake Kalavilasam Shamam Jivanga Lalita Niyata Prakasam Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Madhyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastakoti Satavatsada Sampragambhyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Munipungamanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasimya Vachintya Tattve Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanda Kotim Yaschaktirasti Jagadanda Chayayadanta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manichastataiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Salayana Bhusa Suktalyameva Nikama Pratitaistuvanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Bhavita Vista Birya Eva Nicharupa Tayakalabi Goloka Eva Satyakilato Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadeva Yadesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalanya Nimtistana Navataram Akarod Bhuvanesu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramampamamyo Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shri Brahmasmita Ki Jai. So we can read the translations in English, go one by one. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all, and he has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in the abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamasundara is eternally manifest.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, and substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years.
Very good.
He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and at the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore.
I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion, sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments.
I worship Govinda, the primeval lord, residing in his own realm Goloka, with Radha resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of confident Sakhis, embodiments of the extension of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyam Sundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eyes of devotion, tinged with the salve of love.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Nrisimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions.
Glorification is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We can chant together. Janmadasya yato nivyat itaratas charteso vigyaswarat tene brahma hidaya adikavaye muyanti atsurayaha tejo varimidam yata vinimayo yatrachi sargo misha damna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. Somebody can read.
O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly, indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
Very good. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, we can recite together. Dharma projita kaitravocha varmo nirmatsaranam satam. Vedyam vastavam atravastu sivedam tapo trayon mulanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parir Ishvaraha Sadyo Hide Avarudyate Cha Kriti Bihi Sisusubhistakshana. Someone can read?
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasdeva in his maturity is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by his culture of knowledge, the Supreme God, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Very good. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3 Nikama Kaputarur Galitam Phalam Sukhamukat Amrita Dravya Sampatam Vivita Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Ahur
O translation, O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It is emanate from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls.
Thank you. So we chanted the Shishirastakam, right? So now we'll read the translation. Did you read the translation? No? Okay. Here, I have some. I have one. Okay, go ahead. I offer
I offer my respectful obeisances to that foremost of thieves, who is famous in Vraja as the butter thief, and he who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sins which have accrued over many lifetimes.
Good.
I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his lotus feet.
He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering homeless beggars. Alas, such a fearsome thief has never been seen or heard of in all the three worlds.
Mere utterance of his name purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere.
O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything, where can you run to? I have caught you with the rope of my devotion.
You cut the terrible noose of Yamraja. You sever the dreadful noose of material existence, and you slash everyone's material bondage, but you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees.
O stealer,
O,
go ahead, go ahead.
O stealer of everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison. Imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance, and there for a very long time. You will remain receiving appropriate punishment for your crimes of thievery.
O Krishna, thief of my everything, the noose of my devotion remaining forever tight, you will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart, because I will not release you for millions of aeons. Jai Shri Churastakam Ki Jai Haribol. Okay, so today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13, verse number 38. Huh? Yeah, but I want to go over it one more time. Samasturita Savanani Avastiti Samsta Vibedas Tavadeva Datava Satrani Sarvani Sarita Sandis Tvam Sarva Yagya Kratur Isti Bandana Samatu Reta. Your semen is the sacrifice called Soma. Savanani. Ritualistic performances of the morning. Avastati. Different statuses of bodily growth. Samasta Vibheda. 7 varieties of sacrifices. Tava, your. Deva, O Lord. Tatava, ingredients of the body such as skin and flesh. Satrani, sacrifices performed over 12 days. Sarvani, all of them. Sarira, the bodily. Sandhihi, joints. Tvam, your lordship. Sarva, all. Yagya, asoma, sacrifices. Kratu, soma, sacrifices. Isti, the ultimate desire. Bandhana, attachment. Translation. O Lord, your semen is the sacrifice called Soma Yagya. Your growth is the ritualistic performances of the morning. Your skin and touch, sensations, are the 7 elements of the Agni Stoma sacrifice. Your bodily joints are symbols of various other sacrifices performed in 12 days. Therefore, you are the object of all sacrifices called Soma and Asoma, and you are bound by yagyas only. Okay. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There are 7 kinds of routine yagyas performed by all followers of the Vedic rituals, and they are called Adistoma, Adyagnistoma, Ukta, Sodasi, Vajapeya, Atiratra, Aptoryama. Anyone performing such yagyas regularly is supposed to be situated with the Lord. But anyone who is in contact with the Supreme Lord by discharging devotional service is understood to have performed all different varieties of yagyas. Now, this is a very important verse. Again, we're seeing 2 things. We're seeing traditional ritual performances, and we're seeing what happens when you become a genuine devotee, following Lord Chaitanya's process of chanting Hare Krishna in this age of Kali, because the Yuga Dharma for this age of Kali is to chant Hare Krishna. Doing the Vedic sacrifices and following all the strict rules and regulations of the Vedas is not a bad thing, but it's not recommended in the age of Kali. What is recommended? It's the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 33rd chapter, verse number 7. Aho bhata swapakoto gariyan yaj jivagre vartate nama tubhyam tepus tapas te jehuvahu sasnur arya brahmanachur namagrinati yete. What does this mean? Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Even if born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your Lordship, they must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. So here we see 2 things. One is the traditional ritual worship of the Lord, which is very complicated, and hardly anyone can do it in this age. And the other is Lord Chaitanya's process, or Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Just chant Hare Krishna purely, follow the regulative principles, etc., and go back to Godhead. So, therefore, Prabhupada says, therefore, in the purport, he says, but anyone who is in contact with the Supreme Lord by discharging devotional service is understood to have performed all different varieties of yagyas. So that's the verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33.7. I wanted to emphasize this. So we see on one side the ritualistic program for making spiritual advancement is very complicated, and it is bona fide, but very few people can actually do it in Kali Yuga. There are people that try. On the other hand, Lord Chaitanya came and made everything easy for us, simply chanting, dancing, feasting, etc. So, Prabhupada is giving us both processes, so we're not ignorant of the ritualistic process, but he's not recommending it. He's saying, you don't have to do this in Kali Yuga because the Brahmanas are not that expert anymore, and there's a lot of negativity in this age. So just chant Hare Krishna. Now, if you are taking to chanting Hare Krishna seriously and following the regulative principles, then it's to be understood you already did these things in previous lives. The ritualized practices. And because of that, you're able to chant Hare Krishna in this life and go back to Godhead. Okay? So, are there any questions about that? It's very easy to get misled by not having any explanation of these things. But see, Prabhupada is giving that explanation in almost every purport throughout this explanation, or throughout the delineation of the ritualized form of making spiritual advancement. It's almost impossible to do it in this age. But if you take to chanting Hare Krishna, it's understood that you already did these things in previous life. And therefore, now you're able to chant Hare Krishna and dance and engage in Krishna consciousness, pure Krishna consciousness. Okay. Any questions about that?
Yeah, Maharaj, if we read this verse by ourselves, we might interpret differently. We might have interpreted, to be chanting the holy name of Lord Shiv, they must have bathed and studied Vedas and fulfilled everything. So some people can interpret that we are not qualified to chant the holy name unless we did all these things. So we would have interpreted differently the same verse.
Okay, I didn't quite understand your question. Go ahead. Say it again.
The verse you read, Maharaj, 3:33:7. So if we read ourselves,
3:13.
3:33:7. The verse that you read.
Yeah, okay.
So if we read it on our own, we would have interpreted wrongly. Just want to.
3:33?
Yeah. 3:33:7.
Okay, so what I read was 3:13. So Canto 3, Chapter 13. Okay, yeah. Verse 38. Is that the one you're referring to?
Now that Maharaj, the second one that you pulled.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So I think
yes, go ahead.
I want to make a point here, because if we read this verse ourselves without your help, we would have interpreted it very wrongly.
How would you have interpreted it?
We would have said, so we would have thought we should do the pilgrimage, study the Vedas,
and fulfill everything, then chant the holy names.
Oh, I understand. Yeah. Yes, that would be a misunderstanding of that verse.
Yes, Maharaj.
Well, that's why I wanted to go over this verse again. See, if you say, oh, we already did that, that doesn't mean we understand. So I wanted to give a deeper understanding. So if you can take the chanting Hare Krishna in this age, that means you already did all these things previously, in previous lives. That's why you're able to take to heart chanting the holy name easily. Yeah. Good question. Good. Thank you. All right. So now we'll go on to the next one. Namo namaste kila mantra devata. Dravya vyasarva kratave kriya mane. Vairagya bhaktya majayanubhavita. Ganaya vidya gurave namo namaha. Nama nama. Obeisances unto you. Te, unto you, who are worshipable. Akila, all inclusive. Mantra, hymns. Devata, the Supreme Lord. Dravyaya, unto all ingredients for performing sacrifices. Sarva kratave, unto all kinds of sacrifices. Kriya atmane, unto you, the supreme form of all sacrifices. Vairagya, renunciation. Bhaktya, by devotional service. Atma jaya anubhavita, perceivable by conquering the mind. Yanaya, such knowledge. Vidya Gurave, the supreme spiritual master of all knowledge. Nama Nama. Again I offer my respectful obeisances. Translation. O Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are worshipable by universal prayers, Vedic hymns, and sacrificial ingredients. We offer our obeisances unto you. You can be realized by the pure mind, freed from all visible and invisible material contamination. We offer our respectful obeisances to you as the supreme spiritual master of knowledge in devotional service. Okay, someone can read the purport. Anybody?
The qualification of bhakti, or devotional service to the Lord, is that the devotee should be free from all material contaminations and desires. This freedom is called vairagya, or renouncement of material desires. One who engages in devotional service to the Lord according to regulative principles is automatically freed from material desires. And in that pure state of mind, one can realize the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, instructs the devotee regarding pure devotional service so that he may ultimately achieve the association of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10 as follows. Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. To one who constantly engages in the devotional service of the Lord with faith and love, the Lord certainly gives the intelligence to achieve him at the ultimate end. One has to conquer the mind, and one may do it by following the Vedic rituals and by performing different types of sacrifice. The ultimate end of all those performances is to attain bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord. Without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The original personality of Godhead or his innumerable expansions of Vishnu are the only objects of worship by all the Vedic rituals and sacrificial performances.
Very good. Okay, so there's a lot of good information in this purport and verse. So when it says, the qualification of bhakti or devotional service to the Lord is that the devotee should be free from all material contaminations and desires. This freedom is called vairagya, or renouncement of material desires. One who engages in devotional service to the Lord according to regulative principles is automatically freed from material desires, and in that pure state of mind, one can realize the personality of Godhead. So, when we see someone collecting flowers, making garlands, offering the garlands to the Lord, this is bhakti. We can also see someone reciting Vedic mantras and following ritualistic formulas for worshiping the Lord. But the purity of picking flowers, making garlands for the Lord, this is something very special, because there is definitely some love involved. Now, how do we know? Because you can go to India and walk through some of the streets of Delhi or other major cities, and you can see women making garlands with tons of flowers and selling them. Now, is there a difference between making garlands and selling them to earn a living, or picking flowers and making garlands and offering them to the Lord? Yes, there is. One is a business, and the other is bhakti. So, therefore it says, this freedom from all material contaminations and desires is called vairagya, or renouncement of material desires. One who engages in devotional service to the Lord according to regulative principles is automatically freed from material desires, and in that pure state of mind, one can realize the personality of Godhead. So when one is making a garland in order to sell it to make a living, their consciousness is different than one who is making a garland without any consideration of selling it and making a profit, and offering it to the Lord with love and devotion. So we see that in the history of the Vedic, in the Vedas, especially in South India, there was a father who was a direct pujari of Krishna, and his daughter would pick flowers every day. The father and the daughter, they planted flowers in their backyard, and every day the daughter would make garlands for the deity, for Ranganath. And in order to make sure that the garlands were correctly made, she would test it on herself, put it on her own neck, and test the weight, the length, and the breadth of the garland. One day her father saw her doing that, and he became very upset. He said, "Why are you doing this? This is not proper. You shouldn't test it on your neck. It's meant for Ranganath's neck. Therefore, throw that garland away and make another one, and don't put it on your neck." So she did. She didn't argue with her father. When he took it to Ranganath and was about to put it on Ranganath's neck, the deity spoke to him. He said, "I don't want that garland." So the father was shocked. The deity is speaking to him. And he said, "I don't want that garland." He said, "I want the garland that your daughter made, and you made her throw it away." So he panics, runs back home, and he asks his daughter, "Where's that garland that we threw away?" And she picks it up and gives it to him. And he goes back and offers it to the deity, Ranganath, and Ranganath is very pleased. Now, when the news of this goes out throughout the community, people suddenly realize that this girl, who's only maybe 12 or 13 years old, is a pure devotee of Ranganath. So they decided that she should marry Ranganath. And they make a whole, marriage ceremony. And although she's only like 12 or 13 years old, she is married to Ranganath. And she disappears into the body of Ranganath, goes back to Godhead. And this is the real history of Sri Rangam. And it shows you that now here's a girl, she's not a big reciter of Vedic mantras. She's not studying the Vedas. She's just making garlands, and not for money. It's to please Ranganath. And she goes back to Godhead because she did it with pure bhakti. So this is what Prabhupada is explaining. He's explaining the traditional ritualized way of worshiping the Lord, which can be beneficial, but it's very difficult to do correctly in this age. And he also presents Lord Chaitanya's process, which is very easy and is full of bhakti. It's only bhakti. And we see it's not someone who's in ISKCON. This young girl, her father was a pujari of Ranganath in South India, and he was a follower of Sri Rangam, or a follower of Ranganath, who's an incarnation of Vishnu incarnation. But his 12, 13-year-old daughter attained pure devotional service by making garlands and offering them with love and devotion to the Lord. Very interesting. And this is more or less what's being described in this purport also, where it says, Tesam Satyayuktanam, where it says, the personality of Godhead being situated in everyone's heart instructs the devotee regarding pure devotional service so that he may ultimately achieve the association of the Lord. So Krishna is instructing us internally through our heart so that we can obtain the association of the Lord. And this is confirmed by 10:10, which says, to one who constantly engages in devotional service of the Lord with faith and love, the Lord certainly gives the intelligence to achieve him at the ultimate end. So then it says, one has to conquer the mind, and one may do it by following the Vedic rituals and by performing different types of sacrifices. The ultimate end of all those performances is to attain bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord. Without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The original Personality of Godhead, or his innumerable expansions of Vishnu, are the only objects of worship by all the Vedic rituals and sacrificial performances. So without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how can we recognize if something is bhakti and something is not bhakti? Although the activity may look the same, but the consciousness may not be the same. So when a person is expecting to get some material benefit out of the service they're doing, that is not exactly pure bhakti. Now, the question may be asked, well, what do you want? You want everyone to be poor and starving and doing all kinds of services and not receiving any money and just suffering? No. But see, when Prabhupada started the movement, he was not paying anyone one penny. But everyone was going out and doing Sankirtan and distributing books and receiving donations. And they would come back to the temple and give all the donations to the temple president. And the temple president was making sure that there was always prasadam, there was a place to sleep, and there was minimal needs were taken care of. So none of us were thinking that we were being deprived of anything. Now, at that time, there were not too many married couples. As time went on, married couples started to increase. The brahmacharis, a lot of brahmacharis got married. So then, some of them agreed to continue living in the temple and accepting whatever the temple could give them. So some temples could give them some kind of an apartment or some kind of a living adjustment, and some temples couldn't do it. So because of, they didn't have the funds to do such a thing. But when everyone would cooperate, somehow or other, I remember the day I got married with my wife, we were given a small apartment that was shared by 3 or 4 other couples. So we had one room, and the other couples had one room. But, the bathroom was the same, the building was the same. But we didn't feel as if we were missing anything or we were being deprived in any way, because we had prasadam, we had service, and we had some place to sleep. Now, when we started having children, at that point, there was a question. Can the temple support the marriage? Or, in other words, whatever the temple is able to supply, if the family are willing to accept it, then it's okay that they can live in the temple. But if the family keeps wanting more and more things to maintain their family, then they have to live outside. So at that point, there were families living in the temple or temple compound, because there were enough people going out on Sankirtan and distributing books and preaching and doing festivals and things like that. And there was enough money to maintain everyone. And there were other temples where they couldn't do that. They didn't have that same structure. So a lot of families moved out of the temple, and the husbands got jobs, or the wife got jobs, but they still remained in Krishna consciousness. So over time, those two models were functional in ISKCON, and they still are today. You don't see it so much here, but in other places, temples, you'll see it. Okay, so I wanted to give that little bit of information, and here it says, one has to conquer the mind, and one may do it, notice the word may, by following the Vedic rituals and by performing different types of sacrifice. The ultimate end of all those performances is to attain bhakti, or devotional service to the Lord. Without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The original Personality of Godhead, or his innumerable expansions of Vishnu, are the only objects of worship by all the Vedic rituals and sacrificial performances. Okay, so now, does that mean you can only conquer the mind by following the Vedic rituals and by performing different types of sacrifice? No, because the word may is used. You can do the same thing by chanting Hare Krishna and following Lord Chaitanya's process. And it'll be even easier and more direct to attain bhakti. Okay, so I'll stop on that point. Are there any questions about that? Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, so Maharaj, I think you touched upon one key thing, which is how do we identify what is bhakti?
What?
How do we identify what activity is bhakti?
Yes.
Because lots of people, bhakti, they think is just a feeling inside. And for example, we were in one of the Bhagavad Gita recitations, not ISKCON, and then, but there was no specific mention of bhakti, and the understanding was that in Bhagavad Gita, whatever Krishna said, all the actions are equal. So as long as you think that there is God and then you do it, that is sufficient. Versus is the kind of prescriptive activities that we do, like chanting, like going out on Sankirtan, eating only prasadam, reading scriptures. So we've identified certain activities specifically as the bhakti. So I guess I wanted to see if you have any further thoughts around like how.
It all depends on your consciousness. Just like that little girl who's only 12 or 13 years old. She was innocent, and she had genuine, what you would call love for Ranganath. And her father couldn't recognize that. He was a ritual brahmana. So when he made her throw away the garland that she measured on her neck, she followed what he said, but Ranganath refused the second garland. He said, I don't want that one. I want the one that she made, that you made her throw it away. So he had to go back and get that garland and come back to Ranganath. Why? Because she was making those garlands for a long time with love and devotion. It's not that the second garland she made was not made with love and devotion, but to instruct the father that he didn't understand the level of consciousness of her daughter. It was not something whimsical. It was done out of pure love. So everything depends on the consciousness. And you can have, you can go to India and you'll see hundreds of women and men making garlands in the streets outside temples, and then people come and buy them, go in and offer the garland, right? So is that bhakti? Well, again, it's going to depend on the consciousness of the person. Right? And some people will refuse to take any money and just do it. Just like the ladies here, they're not being paid to make the garlands. So they're not thinking, well, I'll make 25 cents on this garland and 50 cents on this garland, etc., etc. They're doing it out of dedication and a feeling of service to the Lord, and eventually it becomes love. In other words, they can't stop doing it. Right? It's not that they're forced to do it. They voluntarily come day after day, month after month, year after year, and that's their service for the Lord. That's their connection to the Lord. So there's a difference in consciousness between the paid and business garland making and devotional garland making. Just like there's a difference in the way someone might be a great cook, but they might not be a devotee at all. So does that make the food that they make spiritual? Not necessarily. The consciousness is not there. So when your grandmother is cooking for you and she hasn't seen you for like 5 years, and you finally go and see her, and she cooks with love and devotion, she's not thinking, oh, I'm going to make 50 cents on the roti and 75 cents on the dosa. And she's not thinking like that. She's thinking, I love these people, and I want to make the best food possible and then offer it to the Lord. And I want them to eat it and be benefited spiritually. It's all based on consciousness. Haribol. Yes.
Maharaj, I want to ask question on the Vairagya. It's typically misunderstood, or people think Vairagya means going away from the family, not getting married.
Yes.
So can you help us understand deeper into the Vairagya and what Krishna actually wants us from through Vairagya? What is to be considered as Vairagya? What is not to be considered as Vairagya?
The qualification of bhakti, or devotional service to the Lord, is that the devotee should be free from all material contaminations and desires. This freedom is called vairagya, a renouncement of material desires. There it is. So the lady who has a material desire and is earning her living, or the man, by making garlands, they can be exporting them or just selling them in a stand in Delhi. They have a material purpose. But the ladies or the men who are making garlands and not thinking about making money, and they planted the garden. So this pujari and his daughter, they planted the garden with flowers. And they grew the flowers, and they were using them to make garlands and offering them to the deities and not asking anything in return, because they were doing it out of love for the Lord. So there's a difference. There's a major, major difference. So when it's done here, as it says, free from material contaminations and desires. This freedom, in other words, you're a free person when you don't have material contaminations, meat eating, gambling, like that, and desires. The freedom is called vairagya, or renouncement of material desires. That's the real meaning of vairagya. You have no longer any material desires. You're free, and you're not worried about whether you'll make a profit or don't make a profit. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah, that is a highly misunderstood concept. That's why some people try to stay away from ISKCON because they think you have to take Vairagya means staying away from the family.
Yeah, that's not. Now we have the real definition of Vairagya.
Yes.
Hari Bol. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai. Every day, even if we have to repeat certain verses, it's all nectar. And you don't want to go so fast that you read a lot of things, but you don't really understand them. So that's why we go over things, so there's no misunderstanding. Hari Bol. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Godadevi pastime is really amazing.
Oh yeah.
Whenever I hear, I feel like very satisfaction.
Yes.
Very satisfied.
Yes. So it doesn't matter she's a Shri Vaishnava or this Vaishnava or that. She had pure love. And therefore they married her to Ranganath, and then she disappeared into the body of Ranganath. It's amazing.
And the point you made, Mara, that she was not reciting any mantras or Vedic rituals.
She was focused completely on making the garland perfect as possible for the pleasure of the Lord. Yeah.
Even Shankaracharya, at the end of their life, they come to the same conclusion.
Raja Govindam.
Give up the
Meditate.
the glamour.
Give up the speculations. Just surrender unto me.
And a simple devotee without any of going through all the troubles of life.
Yeah.
Come up with that.
Yeah, and now we shouldn't think, oh, I'm going to give everything up today. No, I mean, what you're doing, coming regularly, listening to the classes, engaging and chanting your rounds, this is the proper way. This is what Prabhupada did, right? He was married. He had a business, and he was earning money and maintaining his family, but he was also cultivating Krishna consciousness. Okay, stop fighting. Stop fighting. So here we have a real example, right? And then when the right time came, he took sannyas and spread the movement all over the world. So there's nothing wrong with being married. You can be Krishna conscious. There's nothing wrong with being a woman. You can be Krishna conscious. So that's what we should focus on, purifying our consciousness. So our only desire is to please the Lord, not I'll make 50 cents on this dosa, I'll make so much on this, chai and so forth. That's the right. That's not the right consciousness. Hari Bol. Okay.
Where do you want to sing? Sing?
No fighting. Go ahead. See, you
Guru Cherana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Bandhamui Savadana Mate
Bandhamui Savadana Mate
Jahara Prasadi Bai Ge Baba Turiya Jai
Janara Prasade Bai E Baba Toriya Jai
Krishna Prapti Hoi Jahan Hote
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya
Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya Chitete Koriya Aikya
Harana Kori Ho Mani Asha
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Hey Guru Tera Nirati Ye Se Uttamagati
Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati
Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha
Ye Prasade Pure Sarva Asa
Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha
Ye Prasade Pure Sarva Asa
चक्षुदान दिलो
हरि बोल।
जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
चक्षुदान दिल जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
चक्षुदान दिल जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेमा भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते विधि गाय जहरा चरितो गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदा माजे नारा बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदा माजे नारा बंधु लोकेनाथ लोके राजीवाना यह प्रभु कोरो दो या देहा मोरे पादा छाया आह प्रभु कोरो दो या देहा मोरे पादा छाया ये बेजाज गुसुक त्रिभुवाना श्रील प्रभुपाद पतिता पावाना जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Chaitanya Nityananda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nityai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nityai Gaura Hari Bol. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sampurna Radha Kunda Giri Vadan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakti Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to Samaveda. All glories to Samaveda. All glories to Samaveda. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Granth. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Patita Pavan Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu. Namaste. The lotus feet of our spiritual master, I bow down to his lotus feet with great reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. I only wish to have my passion
Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires.
opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic Brahma emanate. By him ignorance is assured. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master, ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, the Lord of master of voice. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the Lord's feet.
Your famous
Spread
spread
all over the
three
three
worlds. We take shelter in Lotus
Lord.
feet. Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki
ki
jai.
Go to Premanandi. Haribo. Namo Vishnu Swami.